chokuchingamidza zvekare muzora nazimbabwe ndemboti watsvene kwese kwamuri kumatimba nanyika nadzoka zvekare nenhau dziri kubuda kubva muzvivhidhivhidhi zvakasiyana-siyana nemastreet akasiyana-siyana munyika yedu nezimbabwe. Muzora nhasi nda kuti tinge tichiongorora zvinhu zviri kuitika mumadifferent political party, kunyanyanya mapati aya anoopposa anonziwe maopposition party. Pane zviri kuitika zvakaitika pakalonjwa bhuku navaJob Sikala. Ndoda kuti munge muchiteerera zvakataurwa nemumwe mukuru former vice president weBotswana achitaura pagungano rakaitwa ranga rine maopposition members akasiyana kusanganisira navaNelson Chamisa. Saka ndoda kuti munge muchiteerera kune mazwi akataurwa nava Ian Khama, former president weBotswana.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies have already been made for my absence. I would very much like to have been there with you this evening, but I did have another engagement in the southern part of Botswana, where I am currently. It is both an honor and a deeply humbling experience to be before you tonight as a guest at the launch of this book, Footprints in the Chains. It is a book that is far more than a collection of pages. It is a statement of conscience, a testimony of endurance, and a symbol of resistance. I'm also honored to have been asked to have given the foreword. And in my foreword, I say the following. Ian Smith, the former Prime Minister of Rhodesia, once said in an interview after he was no longer Prime Minister that the majority in his country, referring to the black people of Zimbabwe, were better off under him than they were after 1980. Following UDI in 1965, we remember that the majority who wanted their rightful freedom confronted those who became their oppressors. And as a result, they were persecuted and subjected to detention without trial, to torture, and to even being killed. Many Zimbabweans left the country as refugees to go and find a better life, whilst others joined the ranks of the liberation movements to combat a minority elite who ran a rebel regime that sought to control the country for their own benefit. Now it has been 45 years since 1980. The only thing that has changed is the name of the country and that of its leaders. The rest remains the same. There's still the persecution, the illegal detentions, the torture, and the killings. And still many leave the country for the same reasons as before, as a result of a new elite who amass wealth only for their own benefit. Now, there is a new generation of freedom fighters engaged in a struggle to be liberated from the new oppressors in order to regain what their forebears had sacrificed themselves for. Prominent amongst these heroes is a fearless pro-democracy activist who we've been talking about this evening, Job Sikala, who himself has been subjected to some of the worst abuses by the government of Zimbabwe, as he fights to bring about a new order that will change the lives for the better for the long-suffering citizens of his country. When you read this book, which is a comprehensive account of everything you need to know about himself and this failed state, start by reading the appendix to understand exactly how absolutely pathetic the situation is in a country whose potential is tremendous due to the resources it has. Amongst these, the most precious being the human resource. But all have been destroyed and continue to be so in a frenzy of corruption, greed, intolerance, and abuse. Footprints in the Chains gives a personal insight into a beautiful country and people wrecked by a tyrannical regime. Reading it will reveal if what Ian Smith said in that interview was true. That's what I said in my foreword. And I continue. When we speak of Job Sikala, we do not speak merely of a politician or a lawyer. We speak of a man who has chosen to walk a dangerous path in pursuit of justice. We speak of someone who has paid the price, not for wrongdoing, but for refusing to be silent in the face of injustice. This book, Footprints in the Chains, is not fiction. It is a lived experience. It is the voice of a man who was confined, yet never caged, silenced but never voiceless, broken down but never broken. In reading this work, we are invited into the dark cells and the long nights that so many in his country, whether known or forgotten, have endured. But we are also reminded of something powerful, that the human spirit, when grounded in conviction, can rise above even the most brutal of circumstances. So Job Sikala's story is personal, yes, but it is also profoundly national. His journey reflects a broader Zimbabwean reality. The chains he writes about may be literal in his case, but for many, they are symbolic. Chains of fear, chains of economic despair, chains of silence. Tonight, we're not just launching a book. We are launching a mirror that asks us, where do we stand? Are we merely spectators of suffering, or are we agents of change? Job Sikala has walked a hard road, and his footprints have not been erased, nor will they ever be. They are marked in the dust of his nation's history. They will lead us somewhere, perhaps to a Zimbabwe that is freer, more just, and more accountable, but only if we choose to follow them. Footprints in the Chains is not comfortable reading, but it is necessary reading. It challenges, it provokes, and it demands reflection. So to Job Sikala, I say, thank you for your courage. Thank you for your sacrifice, and for reminding us that even in chains, the fight for freedom continues. To everyone there, may this book ignite not only thought, but indeed action. And I thank you and congratulations to you all on being here and supporting Job and everything you're doing to make your country a better place. And we hope that this will be a powerful contribution to the... And I thank you for your attention.
aiwa tinotenda zimbabwe. I think tose tangozinzwira zviri kutaurwa nemamwe mapurezidendi vamwe vakamba vachigara chigaro choutungamiriri. Tinoda kuti nyika yedu inge ichiitawo kahunu, inge ichiitawo politics dzinenge dzakaswatuka kuitira kuti tinge tichifambirana pamwe chete, uyezve maopposition anga achionekwawo semamwe mapati anofanira kunge ane kodzero dzokunge achitongawo mune nyika ino yedu, kwete kuti tingoti ZANU-PF ndo inongoramba ichingotonga. Zvinoda kuti vange vachisangana pakati kuitira kuti nyika yedu inge ichifamba zvakanaka. Ndo yatinoti democracy. Ndepatinoona nyika dzedze dzatinoshuwira kuti dai taenda kwadziri ikoko dzinenge dzakasununguka, dzinenge dzine rusununguko kune ese mapolitical party kuti zvinhu zvinenge zvichifamba. Asi tinoona vamwe ZANU-PF vacho vachiomesera vana veZimbabwe mukati menyika ino yeZimbabwe, ndo vanoda kuzoenda kune dzimwe nyika dzedemocracy vachinotsvaka mari ikoko, or vachienda kumaholidays vachinoenjoya democracy dzimwe, kasi vachishisa nyika yavo isina democracy. Toda kuti vanhu vange vachipafungisisa ipapo, tinge tichifambidzana pamwe chete, ende uyezve nyika yedu inyanya neyeZimbabwe inge ichifambirana pamwe nemaopposition party kuitira kuti vana vedu nemhuri dzeZimbabwe dzinge dzichizoita ramangwana rakanaka. Avo ndotenda hangu Zimbabwe, ndichikurudzira kuti musubscribe ende also nokulike nokukomenta pachannel ine. Ndichitenda vakasubscribe kudhara, ndichitenda also nokuramba kwamunoita muchiuya muchinzwa mavideos edu ndikuona mavideos edu akasiyana-siyana, maaudios edu akasiyana. Ndichitenda also avo vane chido vanoshare also mavideos edu kuma different platform. Ndotenda Zimbabwe, ndoti muwane zvakanaka.